Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Future of Football on the Weekly Armchair. I am Nathan, I am your host for the evening, and I'm joined by Doobs, Will, and Julio. Julio, I can never remember how to pronounce your name, mate. Let's start with you. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, good. I feel like I've made it now that I'm on your show, mate. So I'm happy to be here.
You're on the Rising Star show. This is the up-and-coming show on the channel, absolutely. No, it's really good to have you, mate.
I'm loving it here. Thank you.
Doobs, how are you, mate? We were on a show last week, and it was an absolute blast. How are you doing?
Yeah, that show last week was mad. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. It's my first time on this Future Football show. I've been watching it. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting topic, obviously, the Champions League format. So yeah, obviously I'll save all my thoughts for when we get into the actual conversation. But yeah, good.
Nice one. And Will, we've been on a few shows before in the past. I've made some pretty terrible predictions with a show with you in the past, so we'll gloss over that. But how are you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Working away. I'm not just dressed up like this for the podcast. Trust me, it's straight after work. But no, all doing good. Can't wait to talk about football.
Nice one. Right, guys. Yeah, obviously Champions League's back. Come back with a bit of a bang last night. Some really good results in the games, some really good plays and really good performances all around. I've got a little video just in case you guys haven't seen it. It's basically explaining the new format. I don't know how everyone's been following it, but
I still don't understand it.
Yeah, I'll show the video and then we'll talk about it afterwards because I'm still getting my head around it as well. But I'm bored of that now. Yeah, that basically just goes in to talk about how amazing this new format is, and I don't care about that. So, Doobs, let's go straight to you, mate. After that, what's your initial thoughts on it? Have you been following it? Have you been paying attention, or what do you think on it?
I tried to keep up with that video. It makes a tiny bit more sense to me. I mean, fair enough. You want to do it like that, fair enough. Include more teams in the league. But for me, you know the old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, what was wrong with the old format?
Yeah.
I genuinely but listen, it's going to take a while for me to properly grasp it, properly sit there and make predictions and stuff like that over so it's basically like the Premier League and the Champions League, but European teams for the first bit, and then it's just knockout stages afterwards.
Yeah.
Listen, I think fair enough. You want to change it by all means, but in my opinion, I just think it was fine the way it was. I don't know how you don't feel about it.
Yeah, let's go straight to you, Will. What do you think on it? I mean, you're the only one out of all of us that have got a gripe in the game in the Champions League, but yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not fully keen on the changes at the moment. It's 2 extra games, which necessarily wouldn't have been needed. It's just going to make the competition drag out a little bit longer than the first few games. Even though they are big games, you look at it and go, does it really matter at the start of the group stages? It's hard to know what's actually going to happen with it, how many points are actually going to be needed to qualify automatically, or are teams just going to win 1 or 2 games against lower teams and then not worry when they're playing each other? I don't know. It's hard to know fully how it's going to go until it's actually playing, but it hasn't piqued my interest as much as, say, last year did, ironically.
Yeah, it's an excellent point because I found when looking at it and seeing the games last night, you'd sort of get a rough idea of who was going to go through the groups and who wasn't pretty early on, but just seems to have a bit of an edge on it at the moment. What do you think, Julio? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I'm in agreement with Doobs. I just didn't see the need for a change of any kind. But obviously, I hope it's one of those changes that, sometimes you'll see a change in a sporting format where they'll do it for a couple of years, realize it's not going to work, and then change it back. There's always a will and a way that it might work, but it's just you're going to get a lot more moaning about fixture congestion and all sorts. And I think that's the biggest issue. The fact that, we're going to see more games, and it's almost like they've done it to up the viewings a bit and make more interesting games happen sooner. But what they seem to have forgotten is people aren't going to be watching all the games all the time. Not everyone's sitting there with 4 screens watching 4 different games at the same time. So I just think they've done too much, and I think people are just going to miss more games now. I am interested to see how the formatting works in the the end of when at the end of this phase, shall we say, we've got the full table. I'm intrigued with that whole. You might see big teams outside the top. What is it? The top? Was it the top 8?
It was 1 to 8
automatically
go through. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to see what outlying teams, what dark horses make it into that top 8, and what big sides don't. And what it seems like it could maybe mentally for the players and for the teams, it might change how they go about. Like you've seen in the past, obviously, by about game 4, game 5, teams have their places in the knockouts wrapped up. So the final game they used to rotate. I don't know if we'll see that as much now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue, because if we're going to complain about fixtures, we're going to complain about players. Like not everyone has a Man City where they've got 2 really good squads, or a Chelsea where they've got 2 or 3 squads to use. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all these players, not everyone has that. Like Klopp's best team at Liverpool was literally a first 11 that won them the league and the Champions League. But you don't want to look at how bad their bench was, because it was quite average. Even Arsenal have that now. Like Arsenal have a really good first 11. I think what helps Arsenal is how good their system is. Put anyone in there and they'll do well. But if key players are missing or rotated, like it's curtains for Arsenal. Like last year, if you lose both Havertz and Jesus as striking options, you turn to Nketiah. Is he the answer? So I just think the Champions League format is going to cause a lot more problems and a lot more injuries now in the long run, because I think a lot of teams won't risk rotation because of the league format. So I'm intrigued, but it's going to cause more problems, I think.
Yeah, it does seem, because like you say, and like Will said, it's really difficult to know how it's going to fall when it comes to the end of it, because we don't know how many points are going to be needed enough to get you through automatically and how the playoff system is going to work. It does seem a bit unnecessary. I have to say, I quite like the look of it. I think it's quite an interesting way of doing things. It seems drastic. It does seem a massive change really quickly. Like we knew they were thinking about changing the format, and we knew for a long time they wanted to do it in a certain way, but it just seemed like a massive leap to just change it completely. It's it's difficult. It's difficult to know how it's going to work so soon. But I'm not against it. I like the idea of it. It is going to be interesting. But yeah, it seems like a really big change so quickly. And
the one thing I'll say probably about the rotations is, do you think that teams will start rotating the players for the earlier games rather than the later games? Because they'll feel like, with it being a league format, that they can actually gain the points back in the later games rather than resting them later when they knew they'd qualify. Whereas they know they just have to get into, say, the top 25, and then they'll have 2 games later on in the knockouts. And they'll be like, okay, we've got that far. We back ourselves in some of the knockouts for some of the bigger sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it also comes down to the fact that you might end up starting underestimating other teams. Like if you're playing a high level European club and you're anticipating that you're going in against a lower sort of European club, you're going to start having some upsets because you're rotating so much. So go on, Dubes, go for it.
I was going to say, I feel like that was kind of happening anyway. Because say like you know when you do the draw before the Champions League starts, let's say Arsenal get drawn a team like, I don't know, Dinamo Zagreb or something like that. You're sitting there going, oh yes, and then we can rotate. And if like you only need a point, for instance, they'll be sitting there going, okay, we can play the Nketiah, we can play the Nwaneris, what's his name, that young kid?
Yeah, Nwaneri.
Yes, I feel like that was kind of happening anyway, so I don't think it would change that much in that sense. Also, I don't know why Will's getting gassed. You haven't got any Odegaard, so you're celebrating De Bruyne coming off.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
Let's bring that up. Well,
I'll take any injuries to Man City players just to make them get a little bit weaker, because we've already weakened with Odegaard gone, so I'll take any of them.
Yeah.
All that means is Phil Foden comes in. That's all it means.
Yeah, I know, but still.
No,
If anything, I think KDB is
But yeah, as I said, I don't think that will change in a sense. But yeah, Judo made a great point about fixture congestion. Like, you're going to get even more teams. I mean, Jurgen Klopp isn't here anymore, but you're going to get even more managers complaining about like fixture congestion and just like, but they have a right to question it now.
Well, let's talk about that quickly, because there's obviously been this talk over the last few days where Rodri made a comment about fixture congestion and how that they may be given the right to strike. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite a working class bloke. I don't earn a lot of money. I earn enough to get us by. We pay the mortgages, pay the bills. We're not mega rich like these footballers are. You know what I mean? So I'm talking from a point of view that if you're earning that much money, you shut up and do exactly what you're fucking told.
Exactly. Biggest
Does anyone disagree with that comment?
No.
No one going to bite me?
Not really, no.
No,
Because
no arguments?
every change that happens, someone's complaining.
And also, at the end of the day, you're playing more of what the thing you love to do, which is play football.
Yeah, there's so many people that would love to be in their position. So if they want to go on strike, by all means.
I think managers hate it more because there are some managers who can't do Wednesday, Sunday. Like
managers, I hear it. But
yeah, Antonio Conte, for instance, as great he is at winning leagues, when it comes to literally his whole managerial career, when it comes to midweek games in the Champions League, he's been very poor. Can't do it in Europe. The amount of times he's been grouped in the Champions League, his different clubs that he's been at, like Juve, Inter, or even when he gets out of the group, it proves very poor in title challenges, for instance. Like, he won the league in that first season at Chelsea, and then the next season, they really fell off. Yes, they lost some really good personnel, like Matic and Costa, but they fell down to 5th. And I just think managers hate it because they put a lot of energy in to their preparation, their training. And because now the game's a bit different, the game almost asks more for fitness, it seems. That's why players are a lot fitter now. I think that managers hate it more because they feel like they can't get the best out of their players every game. And if there are managers who are on strict budgets, like, they feel like they don't want to rotate, but they feel like they have to. And if there are managers who have players in their team that they still don't trust, it's a bit of an issue for them. So I think the biggest complaints we'll hear from managers, I think Pep literally complained about it last week.
Yeah, that's
everyone's got something to complain about. You know what I mean? I just think that the changes that happen, you can complain all you want, but they happen. So I do worry about player injury safety. We're seeing a lot of long-term injuries happening, but
yeah, no, I'm in the camp that I don't want to see players get seriously injured. I don't want them to end their careers at 21 or something stupid like that. But there comes a point where if you're a manager of a top European club, like an Arsenal, like a City, like whoever's playing in the Champions League this year, whatever, you should have big enough squads to be able to manage your workload. You should have the ability, like Man City have got this endless pit of money that they dip into, and they will build a squad to challenge in all of these competitions. Like, they'll take the League Cup less seriously because they want to go and win the Champions League. Like, little things like that. It all comes down to just rotation and squad rotation. Give youngsters a chance. Get some academy players in. Give those guys a chance. You're not going to play them in the Champions League semi-final, for fuck's sake. You're not going to play your academy, your graduates, and those sort of things unless they're established first teamers. So the argument for player welfare, I completely understand. But the idea of going on strike because there's too many games, if you don't want to play too many games, don't go away with your country. Okay. That's my argument. You got Rodri moaning about, we've got too many games to play. Well, don't go play for Spain. You know, have the summer off. You didn't have to go to the Euros. You could have said, no, I don't want a Euros Cup winners medal this summer.
I do still think the international break games are pointless, but I understand why they do it.
They could lose the Nations League and nobody would bat an eyelid quite easily.
No one would care. No one would care. Bro, let's be honest, we all dread it when there's an international break. We're sitting there going, 2 weeks until we get to watch Premier football again. Like, I dread it. Like, we've got another one. 1 week's gone, we've got another 3 weeks, and there's another one.
Yeah, and it's Nations League bollocks again.
Nation League, and it's like, no one really cares. Like, obviously, we're speaking from well, obviously we're speaking from English point of view, where it's like we watch boring football, so it makes it even more the case that like we don't care. But still, like just in general, like I don't get excited for international football that much. I don't know about anyone else, unless England get to like a quarter-final or semi-final.
I get involved in the hype around the tournament all the time. I think we all get caught up in it eventually, but yeah. Will, did you want to jump in?
I support Ireland.
That's what I said. I was talking to Nathan. Yeah,
never. I know, but never in like international football. Like there is no hope. No hope.
So out of all of us, the person that would be least interested in international breaks is probably you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. As soon as it comes on, it's like, okay, what can I do with the rest of my family? TV off.
Do you know what I think? I mean, international breaks are pointless. I think what they should do is really, because you get these random friendlies that just mean nothing. Make the Nations League your Euro qualifiers. So change it.
Yeah.
You just have, if you're making World Cup or Euro qualifiers, that we don't need a Nations League. Either make the Nations League that, or bin off Nations League. Because no one cares if Scotland are one division above England or whatever. No one cares. Like, a lot of fans care about international football when it's tournaments, when it's actual tournaments. I think a lot of players, the ones that are complaining a lot are the ones that are here, like based in England. And I think the difference is obviously, apart from international break, is obviously we have an extra cup competition during the season in the Carabao Cup. Now, I like the Carabao Cup because whether you like it or not, it's a trophy. And some of the best teams in Premier League era, the first trophy won was the Carabao Cup. So I think if you're going to start changing formatting, you've got to change the formatting of stuff like the Carabao Cup, the international breaks. It's a genuine wide scale of what you need to change. Like, honestly, like at one point you could probably say Carabao Cup, do it in like a England like quadrant, like 4 divisions, whatever, similar to the Champions League in a way, but start it in pre-season. So instead of traveling overseas for stupid pre-season games, have it as like, because if players aren't back from international tournaments, you use the rest of the squad. It keeps them competitive early on. So like July time, for instance, that's used for the early stages of the Carabao Cup, and then the season starts. But that's like a whole other thing. So I just think that
there's a lot of pointless games, I think. Yeah.
There's a lot of pointless games, yeah. And
like we played Brazil in March for real no apparent reason. Like it was little games like that just sort of took out of the Premier League season. It just those games, I think, is what the issue is with player welfare and players playing too many games, is that you're playing too many games that mean nothing. And if you genuinely are, dare I say it, tired as a Premier League, athlete, just miss games. Go to your manager and then you have to face the consequences. Go on, dude.
I was going to say, I'd actually rather than the international break where they take a break to play these international games, I'd rather just be a break and they just have a week off. Because you don't risk of getting injured. Like, obviously, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I can tell as an Arsenal fan, you'd probably be fuming with Odegaard's injury.
Oh, literally, during that last international break, it was like, oh yeah, watching an international game. Oh look, here goes Odegaard, he gets injured. Oh look, here's Calafiori, he gets injured. Oh look, here's another player. Oh, he's picked up a knock, and you're just like, fuck off. In these pointless games, players.
Like we used to get fuming every time Kante gets called up because he's always come back. He's got like some sort of knock, and it's just like. But yeah, that's why I'd actually rather just if you take a week off, they can get to full fitness if they want, rather than playing these pointless international games, which I'll be honest, I never watch.
No.
Like when England play, I never watch it.
No,
I know it's bad, but
no, it's not bad because it's just the state of English football. Like England international team, we get our hopes up every tournament, and it falls flat on our faces every time. We'll go back to the Champions League format very quickly. So the interesting part I took away from it was that the knockout stages will get played home and away. That's quite because I'm obviously going back to the idea of there was going to be an aggregate score and all that stuff. That wasn't necessary. I don't think the idea of having to play all of your knockout rounds until the final, being home and away, that doesn't seem necessary. What do you think, Will?
I suppose if they were looking at a way of reducing the games, that would be a way. But I do think that it's always been kind of 2 legs, and there are times that I think it is better off being 2 legs, because at least one way you don't get an unfair advantage. And let's just say for being home in that 1 game knockout. But I don't know. I like it being 2 legs. Lol, Tottenham. But
Yeah, King.
Are they winning?
Tottenham are losing to
King's
Coventry.
just updating us on the League Cup. That
Yeah.
Damn it, I'm missing expression. I'm missing expression.
Coventry are beating Spurs 1-0.
Yeah.
You know, there you go.
Personally, I just rather it be 2 legs, because then at least you can go, no, look, we were the better team over the 2 games. I don't like now, maybe if it was, say, level after the normal time, I'd get rid of extra time and have it just go straight to penalties. They could probably get rid of that. But other than that, I'd still keep the 2 legs personally.
Yeah. What do you think, Julio?
I really like the idea of home and away. I mean, firstly, I miss away goals because it made things a lot more interesting. Well, it depends. If you drew the first leg 0-0 away from home, and you're drawing, like Nathan, you might remember Barcelona 2008. You know, Scholes scoring and then just holding on to what is a 1-0 lead, but it's almost half a goal lead, because if Barcelona equalised, then they would have gone through. So it makes things a lot more interesting as a viewer. But one thing about 2 legs, home and away, is manager preparation is different to one-off games. I remember hearing Benitez talk about it specifically, or at least someone was talking about how Benitez did it. It might have been Jamie Carragher talking about it, where in compared to one-off games, the way he'd set up for those compared to 2-legged games was completely different. And that might have been why Benitez was able to edge Mourinho into 2 finals back in the 2000s. Whereas compared to one-off games, I think Chelsea dominated and just almost destroyed Liverpool back then. So it's really interesting, because then it really shows more about what managers and what their teams are about. Adaptability is, I know we don't see as much adaptability these days, but it's really refreshing to see as a viewer, that kind of thing. So I'd prefer to keep it that way. I mean, as a United fan, I don't want extra time gone and straight to penalties. I've had too much bad experience with penalties in the last few years alone. I don't really like the idea of United taking it straight to pens, and no Coventry FA Cup semi-final shootout will convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think bring away goals back, because it makes it easier. It avoids extra time a lot more.
As long as they got rid of the BS that was the away goals continuing into extra time, where you got an extra half an hour to score an away goal, and then you're fucked if they scored 1. I didn't like how that continued on. I feel like the away goals were fine when you get 90 minutes and 90 minutes, but then if it was tied even on away goals, and then they scored 1 extra away goal, and then you have to score 2 in that extra time period, it wasn't fair in my opinion.
I liked away goals. So I remember the season Chelsea won the Champions League in the round of 16, when Giroud scored that bicycle kick away at Atletico. That goal felt even more even more precious, because it's an away goal. And then we piped them at the bridge anyway, so it didn't matter, but still.
It definitely adds dilemma to the matches. That sometimes do go a bit stale in the group stages.
Paris, sorry, Nate. Paris 2019 with Solskjaer doesn't happen without away goals.
No, one of the greatest Champions League nights, probably. It's in the top 3, that's for sure. Obviously, beating Chelsea for me is number 1.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that, dudes, because every time Dulio mentioned a nostalgic moment that Chelsea have done, you had the biggest fucking smile on your face. Every time we mentioned how good Chelsea have been in the Champions League, and you're just sat there going,
only London club to still win it. Twice, in fact. So even if Arsenal were to win it this season, they still haven't got as many.
Arsenal to win it this season, please.
Yeah, but that game was
Not gonna
rigged
happen.
by Overbo, the referee.
No way. Very quickly, we'll go through some of the scores. Man City are still 0-0. They're obviously playing dire. Celtic have just gone 4-1 up, quite
Yes.
incredibly. I don't think any of us have got them as their dark horses, but there we go. PSG are 0-0. Dortmund and Club Brugge 0-0. Nothing exciting. And yeah, as Keane mentioned earlier, I believe, if it's still the same, Coventry 1, Spurs 0 in the Carabao Cup.
Bro, I can't wait. I'm going straight over to Expressions Oozing's channel over.
Oh, mate, it's unbelievable. Especially, they've been talking so much about how Postecoglou wins a trophy in his second season, and
always wins. It's not if he's going to win, always.
But one thing you know for sure, Spurs, they're just never going to win anything.
It just seems destined that they're just going to just go their entire history now winning one.
I'm convinced they're cursed at this point.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And Brighton are 2-1 up over Wolves in the Carabao Cup, if you care.
I don't know.
Yeah, so let's move on to some sort of predictions and dark horses. So I've got what Keane sent me earlier. Where have I lost it? Keane sent me his predictions and dark horses. You can tell me whether you agree or disagree. So he said the winners are going to be Man City. No, Dude's is shaking his head. Will and you are very stale. Dark horse is Arsenal.
Nah. I don't.
And he said the flops are going to be Real Madrid. It's amazing this guy owns the channel and runs it. Reading those back, I just kind of thought, if it comes true now, then we'll all obviously eat.
You think that was bad? I was on a show with Reece the other week, and he thinks Atletico are going all the way and winning it. He thinks Simeone will actually do it this year.
I just think I know it's basic, but I just think if Real Madrid scored, there's just no way they can't win it.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump straight into it. Dave's you're going straight for it. Then you're going straight Real Madrid to win, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just think of the players they got. We're talking Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo, all in the same team. Yeah, come on. And then my flops, my dark horses, should I say? I need to remember who's in it. I think my flops are going to be PSG. I think they'll go out quite early, something tells me.
Right, I'm going to write these down, and we'll revisit these at the end of the season. And I will remember, so don't worry about it.
Nah, let's not.
No, I'm going to. I'm doing it now.
Let me just. I can't remember who's exactly in it. To be fair, let me just get all the. Trying to think.
So you said
Who cares about the Champions League, man? It's I'll say
dark horses, just because no one ever really puts them up there anymore. I'll say Barcelona.
That's not an out there shout, if I'm being honest. I like Hansi Flick a lot, so.
No, I like that.
Yeah, but no one really. Nowadays, when was the last time we've looked at the Champions League? We thought Barcelona were going to be the ones to win it. Like we just haven't. Even when Messi was here towards the end, we never looked at that Barcelona team and thought, yeah, they're ones for the Champions League.
I'm just still amazed about how far in deep shit financially they are. Like I was hearing on the radio today how literally they are so far in the shit at the moment. They couldn't even get Dani Olmo registered for the first few games because they just couldn't offload the wages off the books. It's
because they decided to splash the cash in that one window. Like, do you remember that window where they signed Lewandowski, Rafinha, Koundé? Who's the other one? They signed Dembele to a new deal. They signed. There's another player they signed. I swear.
They signed a bunch of players with money they didn't have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We sitting there going, "Oh, they're broke."
The year before they brought Lewandowski in, was it the same year? Because they did all right when they brought in frees. They brought some players in on frees. That was fine. The problem there was they couldn't register them. And then when Saudi came calling for like Kessie, for example, they went, right, let's get rid of him because that's money.
Yeah, because they can't.
But I really want to know how they're cooking the books. Because I mean, I'm doing accounting at uni, so I'm just curious, like, what are the spreadsheets looking like? I just really want to know how they're doing it and think, can I live my life on that kind of deficit?
I can see a future football show in the future where you just sit here and try and explain some of Barcelona's financial decisions using
I
your.
don't think anyone could, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Well, I'm surprised they're not being investigated. Are they being investigated at all?
There's got to be
You'd
someone
think.
lurking around within
man.
UEFA thinking, "Hang on a minute."
Because
There's something
usually
not right.
in the Premier League, when a club's being like investigated or when they're calling a club out for something, that gets reported immediately. I guess it
And
works
Everton
very
get
different in
10
Spain,
points deducted.
Yeah.
So talk to me, Dubes, about Real Madrid. You've gone straight for the winners there. What do you?
As I said, like I know it's a basic shout, but I just think they've got like a ridiculous amount of quality. Like, put Mbappe aside for a second, but the team from last year: Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius, Camavinga, their defense, Eder Militao. Yeah, I just don't see a world where they don't win it. I don't see who in this team. The only team I can maybe see knocking them out is City, or maybe. But even then, that's if Haaland's on his like A game, which he usually is, to be fair. But
yeah, I don't know how it will work with all this new format, whether they'll actually meet until the final, for example. But you could predict a Man City Real Madrid final quite easily.
They'll meet at some point, and whoever wins that game wins the tournament for me.
See, Keane's come out with a shout here that City are going to do it because it's Pep's last season. Yeah, that really worked out for Jurgen Klopp, didn't it?
Yeah, true.
Right. Will, give me your prediction, sir.
It's boring enough. I can't put it past Real Madrid as well. Like,
You're
I
going
just
Real
look at
Madrid
their
as well.
team and I just can't. The pedigree that they have, when it gets down to the hard games, even if it comes down to a bad moment, like they'll just come out and win it. They just know how to do it in Champions League, and I think they'll go far. I think they'll knock us out whenever. I think we'll end up getting them in the time. They'll knock us out quite handily.
I can't wait to watch that game.
My flops, and it's kind of hilarious after seeing the results yesterday, but I'm still going to say Bayern Munich.
Ooh.
I think there's going to be a false high after the 9-2, and I'll be really interested to watch their second game now when they're going away to Aston Villa, who also had a good result there during the week. But I'll be interested to see that. I just think, yeah, they have a good team, but I can't see Vincent Kompany being the guy that leads them to do well in the Champions League.
Yeah,
that is still insanity. We still talk about that, and it is ridiculous that a man who got Burnley relegated is now managing in the Bundesliga, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and in the Champions League. That is ridiculous. That is like when Potter got sacked from Chelsea, and then he just gets like the Real Madrid job or something ridiculous like that. Like, it's just stupid.
And
Dark horses. Do you know what? I may hate, but I am going to say I think Aston Villa make the knockout stages in the round of 16. And I think they'll actually do well. I think they'll do terribly in the Premier League because of it. But I think they'll actually do well in Europe, and that Emery will show his European pedigree. Now that he can't get relegated into the Europa League, he'll have to do it in the Champions League. And I think this will just suit him, picking up points against some of the hard teams at home and then win some of the away games. I just think he'll do well and show a bit of quality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched the Villa game, the last sort of half an hour of it, actually, and they looked really good. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're playing young boys, Swiss champions, make of that what you will. But
hold on. Like, I remember a time when United played young boys in the Champions League and they lost 2-1.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that, dudes, right now. So winding you up.
Wow.
No, Villa coming back was absolutely brilliant. Like, I like Aston Villa as a club. There's nothing really wrong with them. There's nothing against them. They've come back. They've played them off the park and really done well. Apparently, the 3G pitch was a real bitch to play with for the sort of first half an hour or so, and then Emery just sort of said they just got used to it. And that Duran is going to be an absolute baller. Even though his goal got disallowed. That was an unbelievable strike.
We were linked to him for ages.
Yeah, it was massively important they kept hold of him. If they lost him, their season would have been properly fucked. There's no competition with Watkins or anything like. But he's serious. He could play at any of the top teams after a few years.
And that's another player that hasn't really hit it quite yet this season is Watkins. He's sort of taken it a bit slow coming into the start of the season.
We scored 2 the other day. He saved my FPL team. So him and Gabriel, the only ones that got me any form of FPL points.
Oh, I haven't even bothered with it. Every season I do it, and then I get to about round 10, and I just lose interest, and I can't be
See,
arsed.
cause now like I didn't put Haaland in from the start because I'm thinking 15 million, and now I can't afford him. It's like there's no point.
I'm literally the same, and usually every
Yeah.
year I'm the one that runs away with it, wins it. And now it's the one year that there's money with my mates in it, and I'm like 70 points behind them, and it's only week 4, and I'm like, seriously, this is the year I go shit.
Yeah, and then the 1 week I put Salah and they go and lose to Bournemouth, not Bournemouth, Forest. So it's like it. But yeah,
Oh,
anyway, back.
Right.
Anyway, what were you
Julio,
saying?
let's get your predictions. So winners first, please.
I'm gonna say, do you know what? I always find it's difficult to predict this early in the competition because we
I
just
know, that's
don't
what makes
know
it fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the cop out and say Real Madrid. But I really because I just don't know how good the other teams are going to be. But I personally, I actually think possibly they might miss out this year. I think it might be one of those years where just the superstars all get in each other's way and they just they won it 3 years ago. No, they won it just over 2 years ago. Then they lost it the next year, and then they won it this current year. I don't know whether they repeat it, but yeah, if it's not them, it's probably City in the final. I think it's going to be one of those. Those are the two powerhouses in Europe right now. City being arguably the best team in Europe, and Real Madrid being the best club in terms of European pedigree in the competition. So just those two are the easy cop-outs for me.
It's really difficult when you can't discount the fact that they've won it a record, 15 times now, and you can't make a prediction where it's not going to be them. Flops. Who's going to be the biggest flop for you then, mate?
The biggest flop for me. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Liverpool.
Oh,
but I'm saying this
in
because
the sense they're not going to make it to the next round, or just
no. I think they'll make it in the next round, but I think they'll go out early.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I just think I'm saying this based on the fact that I predicted them to finish like 7th this season in the league. So I'm standing firm.
7th.
Yeah.
I said 5th, and I got slated for that.
I would agree with Julio, to be fair. I just don't see this Arnie Slot era getting off to the sort of winning mentality that Liverpool fundamentally deranged.
The only reason it started great is because he's had an easier start than Moyes did after Sir Alex.
The team picked itself immediately.
Yeah.
It?
Moyes had Chelsea, Liverpool and City, 2 of which were away in the first 6 games.
Yeah.
So I think I stand on that with Liverpool. I think it's either them or Milan. I think Milan might be one of those teams that just don't make it out at all.
Milan, you mean Chelsea? You mean the Chelsea wash-away squad, literally?
Yeah, I like Milan as a football club, but I do like some of the players in there, like Loftus-Cheek, for instance. But I think they really, really fumbled the bag hiring Fonseca in the summer. I just don't think he's got what it takes to take this Milan team forward towards winning things. So I think Milan and Liverpool are my 2 options to flop.
What's your thought? Speaking of AC Milan, what's your guys' thoughts on Rafael Leao as a player? Do you properly rate him?
I personally haven't seen enough of him to consider him. I have an opinion on him, to be fair. What about you, Will? Any option on that?
I don't know. I think he was highly sought after like a couple of seasons ago. He was playing his best form. But I think he's dropped off, which always worries me when he drops off of big teams' radars. It just makes me think that there's something in his attitude that just isn't quite right, that none of the big teams have come in for him yet, even when he was such a good player a few years ago.
I think he'd be great for Arsenal. I think people overrate him. I don't agree with people saying that he is the answer ahead of Marcus Rashford for Man United. I think that's ridiculous. Because
I think he's just another Marcus Rashford.
You say that, but the goal numbers are nowhere near as consistent as Rashford's has over the years. I think Leao is another one of those players like Rashford, Martial, and Mbappe who have fallen under that trap of they've come up as strikers in an era where everyone focusing on being on the ball. A lot of focus in the academies in midfield in the mid 2010s. So because of that, you've got a lot of these striker left wing hybrids that can't play either or, so they play somewhere in between. And I think Leao's another one of those players. But I think he in the forward line that Arsenal has, with as someone in the middle who would link up really well across the forward line, I think he would offer something really good on that left wing spot for Arsenal. But
they got Sterling now. They can't.
Right, let's get your
Laugh now
dark.
until he ends up coming off the bench and probably score against Man City. He loves that match.
can you imagine the scenes?
It would be incredible.
He'll
wouldn't
do a reverse Adebayor.
it?
He's done his best to do that. To be fair, he's grown up supporting United, and he's done his very best to just never play for them, just play for everyone but.
Ooh,
just buy him
Tottenham left.
Well, he took the whole top
not
six
over.
topic. He took the whole top six topic as a way of his bucket list of clubs to play for. So he's done 4 now. He's just got 2 more to go. Tottenham and United. But your dark horses then.
My dark horses, Villa. I just think Emery's just really good. I really like him. I mean, to be fair, I can see them finding a way out of the competition just as much as going quite a distance in the knockout stages. The other one is Juventus. They've started the season quite well, and they've basically rebuilt their team, especially the midfield. And the manager has come in, got on them playing the way he wants, and looking really good at the start of the already. They might fall off, but I just think I think Juve are one to watch.
Right, very quickly, Celtic are now 5-1 up.
Spurs just equalised.
Yeah, unfortunately, Spurs have equalised.
Jed Spence, an 88th minute equaliser against Coventry.
Damn it.
Would anyone have predicted that City and Inter would end up finishing 0-0? Because it's still 0-0 going into the 90th.
That's 0-0 and PSG.
Does the EFL Cup go straight to pens, or is it actually?
Yeah, straight
it
to
does.
pens, yeah.
Can't want Coventry. Just forget United, man. Just beat Tottenham, man. Tottenham and United, I want to say.
Get your payback on the big 6.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Will? Did you just mention PSG?
Yeah, there's.
I had a brief look at their lineup pre-match. I think they've rotated a few players. I think they've done what you were asking about earlier. I think they've seen that they've got an easier opponent tonight. So I think they've rotated a bit. They've got some players in there who wouldn't normally start. I think their goalkeeper is their backup goalkeeper, for instance. I think they've got a rotational centre back in there as well. So I think they've rotated a little bit, PSG. So I'm interested to see what their team looks like during the rest of the phase of the competition as well. I don't think they'll win it or do much, but
it just seems another it's another kryptonite trophy for PSG, isn't it? Like they get so close and come so far every time. My predictions very quickly, pretty much the same almost. Real Madrid to win. Again, I can't look past them. They've probably got the best squad in the world, barring Man City. But with the new addition of Mbappe, we've already a very strong lineup anyway. You can't really look past them. I've gone for Liverpool as well to flop. I don't think they'll make it out of the league stages. I think they'll finish in the bottom
11.
I mean, I think, or I hope, either way. And then my dark horses, I've gone for Borussia Dortmund. Finalists last year at Wembley. Obviously, they didn't really turn up in the final, but still, it takes a lot to get there. And with a new format, it might just benefit them. Like we've said already, rotate some of their stronger players. I don't know how they've started the league format, their league season. I mean, I know Bayern Munich are doing pretty well, as they normally do. And I heard a mad stat today that something like it took Haaland got 49 goals in 50 games when he played in the Bundesliga. And Harry Kane's on 52 or 53 goals in the Bundesliga.
52.
Yeah, in 50 games. If he scores another hat-trick, he would break the record for hat-tricks in the Bundesliga and the last person to hold the record played over 400 games in the Bundesliga to get 5 hat-tricks. As much as we talked about Harry Kane last week on the Talk of the League, when we compared him to Vardy, and we all said Vardy, funnily enough. You can't deny the fact. Let's make a quick prediction on a golden boot. I would just chuck Kane in there straight away. What do you reckon, Dubes?
I'm going to say Vinicius Jr.
Vinny Jr. Vinny J. Will, what do you reckon?
Originally, I probably would have just gone easy and gone Haaland, but I think you have to go Kane after he scored, 3 or 4 last night?
Yeah.
It's hard for anyone to catch up after that.
That's another thing, actually, not talking about this new league format. Obviously, more games, more ways it goes. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, 2-1 Spurs, apparently. No, wait. Yeah, 2-1 Spurs, apparently.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Brennan Johnson of all players. They're going to love him now.
Golden boot. What did you say? Sorry, well, you said Kane as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I said after the winning, scoring that many goals in the first game, I don't know. But then again, I might actually still go for Haaland because they have to play Slovan Bratislava in the group stages. And if Celtic are beating them 5-1, what could Haaland do?
No, I agree. Julio, what do you reckon? Go on, chuck me a curveball that none of us have heard of.
Saka.
I'm going to go for
Darwin Núñez.
Nah.
He's going to flop.
I'm just. You said curveball, so I'm trying to think: is there a curveball I can throw you? Because I could say Mbappe, but I don't think that's likely. Nor do I think that's much of a curveball anyway.
I heard another fact today, another quick fact, that the last English player to score 4 goals in a single game in the Champions League.
Who's it? Wayne Rooney? No.
Well, you should know this. Alan Smith, 1990. 1991 Champions League season, I think.
Jesus.
There you go. See, I'm fucking full of it tonight. Come with my research, boys.
I'd probably say Kane. Kane. Yeah.
Keen, if you're still in the chat, I need your prediction for Golden Boot. If you're not in the chat, screw you.
If he's in the chat, up yours.
Unless that's your prediction. Or, no, that's probably a few minutes later. I can put that into your prediction.
Get a low.
There we go. Right. So another little quick chat. So Dortmund are beating Club Brugge 3-0 now. That's nearly over. Paris Saint-Germain have they've just conceded. No, they haven't. Sorry, they've scored, but it was an own goal. Paolo Gazzaniga has scored for an own goal against 4.
Oh, look at this guy, man, with his cop-out answer. Keane's gone for Kane as well.
Oh, god damn it! Be original.
Yeah,
well, Will and Dubes are the only ones that went outside of the box on that one.
I just think Vinicius Jr., the amount of chances Real Madrid are going to create, he tends to be on the end of it. Plus, he likes to have the ball a lot. And he's actually quite good, in my opinion, at doing the Mbappe finish, funnily enough. Yeah.
I was going to say Endrick as a curveball, to be honest, just to go completely nuts with it.
Nah, he's got his misses in the way.
Well, guys, we're nearly at an hour now. We've done pretty well. So what was all of our outcomes was that we're not sure on this new format. We're not a big fan of it. I am. Dubes, you're not sure.
No, I just said I don't mind it. I'm not against it.
Fussed.
I just think you didn't need to change it. But you know what? If you want to do it, fair enough.
When's your next game, Chelsea? Are you playing this week?
We're playing. We got a game of the weekend, and then we got Barrow, and then afterwards we got Conference League. I'm going to that game against Genk.
Oh, nice. I've just realised. I've just looked at the scores and the fixtures. There's more Champions League tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arsenal plays tomorrow. Yeah. Yes.
Can't wait. Was buzzing so long.
Has there ever been Champions League on a Thursday?
No,
I was just
so long to get into the Champions League.
And you're playing on a Thursday night.
And now we're fucking playing Thursday nights again before we play City on Sunday.
It's all right, Will. So are we. You're one of us. We're in the
Welcome.
Champions League, yet you're still one of us.
Chelsea, we get a whole week off. We can get the chill. You can get the chill, relax. Yeah, we're fine.
See, this is what I mean. The Champions League is just some overrated choir theme. No one wants that. You want your Europa League moaning, yeah? You want your nut score lines, your random places out the back ass of Kazakhstan, yeah? That's what you really want.
That's what you
Will
want on a
misses
Thursday night.
the banter era.
Europa League. Bro, I remember Chelsea last time we were in the Europa League. We went and won it beautifully 4-1. Who was that team we played against again? Will, do you remember?
It was some small team. I don't know who
Is
they were.
that some small club who just ran them over? I remember their fans were crying afterwards.
That was a disgrace, though.
It
In terms of
definitely-
like an
it
Arsenal
definitely-
team, that was disgrace. Just didn't turn up that night.
It was not a good evening.
Right, Doobs, where can we find you? What are you up to?
Find me on TikTok. I'm 1K away from 50K on TikTok. If any of you lot watching, just tell your friends about me. Do anything. No, I'm not going to beg you lot. But yeah, man, find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram, the same name as my TikTok. Just type in Doobs. You can search for me on Twitter, even though I never use it, but I need to get into the habit of using it. But yeah.
Awesome. Will, what are you up to? Where can we find you, sir?
Yeah, pretty much at the moment. It's only really on Twitter at Willie Chili Bry. Just give us a follow if you want. If you don't.
J-Man, what about you? Where can we find you?
Twitter, I've put my handle in there. Just come abuse me on Twitter. I'm always down for a football-related conversation on there, just a debate or something. Just come find me on there.
Absolutely. And you can find me at Nate Dales on Twitter. I'm here most weeks doing this. We've probably got a preview this week of the Palace game, probably Friday night. And then we'll have a review straight after. Who have you guys got at the weekend out of curiosity? Doobs, who have you got the weekend?
West Ham away.
West Ham
I think
away.
West Ham's the kind of team where we either roll them over or they roll us over.
Yeah. And Will, you must have an easy game this weekend, surely.
Yeah, easy trip to the empty hat there.
That's all good.
Oh.
Right, guys, really appreciate it.